According to the Single Mother's Guide, the United States Census Bureau states that of 12 million single parent families, 80% of those families are led by single mothers. Take Anne, for example. Anne has a newborn baby and she doesn't have any support from the household at all. And so she decides to take her newborn wherever she goes with her just to make sure she's okay and everything. And since she doesn't have any support, it's much harder. So she takes her newborn with her, in this case, to the shopping mall. And of course, eventually the baby gets hungry after a while. And so she decides to breastfeed it within the mall. And she gets a lot of harsh comments and rude stares, and she's eventually escorted out of the premises by security. And to me, this is really wrong and shouldn't be happening because she has her rights as well. And so, in light of the many stories of mothers having to breastfeed in other places and leave other places in order to breastfeed, we must demand more family friendly policies within public areas such as shopping malls. Today, I'll review the weaknesses within the three main misconceptions of public breastfeeding, which include how women are unaware of how to properly breastfeed, how the breasts of women are considered sexual organs and so therefore breastfeeding is considered a sexual act, and how people think that there are other places that people can breastfeed, that women are able to breastfeed, which is also not true. So the first misconception is that women are unaware of how to properly breastfeed. For instance, the National Center for Biotechnology Information states that mothers are uncertain of what to expect when it comes to breastfeeding. And so most people, when they think of breastfeeding, they think of breastfeeding as something natural that should just be instinctive to the mother. And this is not always the case, for breastfeeding is also an art that is to be learned and should be taught correctly. For instance, two of the techniques that should be taught is how to hold and how to position the baby correctly while breastfeeding. Keyword taught, meaning this is a learning process and it's something that can be learned and can be done. This concept is reinforced by the National Center for Biotechnology Information, their article, which is called Breastfeeding from the Public Health Perspective, which admits that basically says that prenatal classes are there to inform women that of the health benefits of breastfeeding that come for the mother and the child and the baby. And that there are instructors there ready to help them deliver new techniques of breastfeeding and to give them accurate information, which helps which helps mothers in the long run. I think that since mothers are putting in the effort to make society more comfortable with the concept of breastfeeding, that we should give their cause of public breastfeeding more leniency and by helping more family-friendly policies within public areas. Another misconception that hinders the enhancement of public policy is the flawed perspective that a woman's breasts are sexual objects, so therefore breastfeeding is a sexual act. For instance, within Gills Thompson's, Catherine Burton's, and Renee Flacking's article, Shame If You Do, Shame If You Don't, Women's Experiences of Infant Breastfeeding, it states that breastfeeding in bottles are offensive to some people. So like I said before, our culture thinks that breastfeeding is a sexual concept because women's breasts are something that are perceived to be something sexual. And within the statement, it mentions bottle feeding and breastfeeding, which are realistically the only two ways that mothers can breastfeed their children. And these facts are comprised and entailed in Kids Health from Nemours website, which details breastfeeding basically has many advantages. One of the most important advantages in breastfeeding is that they get the proper nutrients. The babies get the proper nutrients such as fats, proteins, and lactose within their diet, which is easy for their digestive system to digest. Formulas try imitating the benefits and composition of real breast milk, yet they don't do it accurately. So I think because breastfeeding and bottle feeding are realistically the two ways to nourish a baby, that they shouldn't be considered offensive to anyone. Naturally, I saved the best and most disturbing news for last. While collecting the information for my last fallacy, I was shocked to know that there were so many people out there basically that think that there are other places, more appropriate places for women to breastfeed. And by having this misinformation in their minds, they think that this is an accurate solution to the issue of women not having sufficient and sanitary places in order to feed their children. And an example would be Alison Bartlett's journal, Scandalous Practices and Political Performances, which is called Breastfeeding in the City, which quotes the Premier of Victoria, Jeff Kenney, who declares, "Some people find it offensive that women feel like they can breastfeed in obvious places, when in reality there are so many other places for women to breastfeed, they just don't take advantage of it. And they should breastfeed elsewhere. It's really a matter of choice and taste. Like, you have the choice to breastfeed elsewhere, you just choose not to." Usually when people think of other places to breastfeed, they think of public restrooms. And I don't have to remind y'all that we know that public toilets, they don't have lids to cover them up to contain germs in that situated area. And so this is proven by Codename Mama's article, Breastfeeding and Bathrooms Do Not Mix, which informs us. So it basically says that every time you flush a toilet, there's a lot of basically poop and urine that goes everywhere. Every time you flush it, it just flies everywhere on the walls and everything like that. And so it's much worse in women's restrooms because not only is that happening because there's no lids on the toilets, but also we use tampons and pads and they're dirty and nasty and they're adding more germs and pollution to the air, and so that's unsanitary as well. And we also bring smaller children into the restrooms so that we can change them, and that is more fecal matter into the air, and it's disgusting and unsanitary. And just imagine a child being in there, like, it's not right, like, it's unhealthy to be a baby and to have to eat in there. So based on this information, if you wouldn't want to eat in a public restroom, why do we make mothers breastfeed their children in restrooms like that? It's unsanitary. It shouldn't be happening. These misinformed beliefs impact public breastfeeding in a negative way, and it hinders policy changes. We must keep in mind that there are courses out there that women can take to learn how to breastfeed properly, and also that babies shouldn't be, like I said before, babies shouldn't be eating in public restrooms because it's somewhere we wouldn't want to eat and it's disgusting. To right this atrocity, we must encourage more family-friendly policies within public areas such as shopping malls, and so that moms can feel more comfortable feeding their babies. So by combating these misconceptions and demanding more policy change, we promise the security of our future generation.